to the world. Woo! Hello, parkrun family. I've got earphones. I've just managed to get them to work. It's absolutely chucking it down with rain. Hello, everybody, for joining already. Hello, everyone. Oh, you've all got great names. Slinkies, Lee Player, and 9 others. Just waiting for Dawn. There's Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Woohoo! I think that's the... Have everybody here. Tuesday night. I think we've normally... Well, last week was a Wednesday. 2 before that was Thursdays. There she is. Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
I've got the swirly whirl of doom. Mind you, our internet can sometimes be a bit naughty. I'm on pause. Can you hear me, Dawn?
I can hear you, but you're not... Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
There we are. I can hear you. We have connection. Great. So while we let other people join, we can just have a bit of a yada-yada. Where are you? Are you in Oldham?
Yeah, just outside Manchester, so it's very rainy and very cold today.
Yeah, is it rain for the first time today for you? It's only just started here in Harrogate.
Same, actually. Yeah, it's been sort of grey all day, and then it's just chucked it down now, so...
Oh, no. Oh, there's Kirsty. Hello, Kirsty. She's going to keep us all right. So we'll start at 7 o'clock. If anybody has got any questions for Dawn, I'll remind you in a bit when we start at 7. But yeah, chuck all your questions in the bottom. Hi, Nick. Hi, Spiky. Then we can ask you all these questions later on in the day. Have you managed to get out of doing bedtime? I mean, most importantly, this is what I love about this.
Mine are 11 and 18, so not. We've been a few years away from that, thank goodness, so I don't envy anyone.
You've passed the storytelling. I've left Tom in blissful, just domesticity up there with screaming children.
I've told them to get off the Wi-Fi, but which they weren't very impressed at, so I suppose different ages, different problems.
Will they watch? Will they be in their rooms? No,
they think I'm the most embarrassing person ever.
I was just going to say, they must think you're the coolest doing an Instagram live.
Certainly not. No, certainly not.
Oh, well, look, it's lovely. Lots of people are starting to join, which is really nice. So when we start at 7 o'clock, just to remind everybody, hello, Izzy. Chuck your comments in below if you've got some questions for Dawn. Lots of hearts there as well. Can you see them?
Yeah.
Have you been at work today?
I have, yeah. I'm working from home at the moment, and it was a long day, so I've just served up the tea, kicked them into the dining room. So it was a bit touch and go for 7 o'clock, but I made it.
You can't be late for anything, can you? There's like no excuses other than burning the tea or the kids getting in the way. It's just, it's the oddest thing, isn't it? It's just the weirdest.
Yeah, very odd times.
Trying to juggle everything's really hard, isn't it?
Yeah. We've all got so many hats, and I think that's expanded even more in this current climate, that we're all trying to juggle so many things and be so many different things to different people.
I know.
It's, tough.
It's tricky. When you do your day's work, like before this all happened, did you say, I've got, obviously, people know you've got kids, but do they expect you to be able to still do everything you were doing before?
I'm quite lucky. My employers are incredibly flexible, so we worked from home already, but obviously not 5 days a week. And we did flexible working, so I'd implemented where you could take a longer lunch break to go and do like a Zumba class when you were working from home.
Oh, brilliant. There's
got to be some flexibility, so I've been really lucky, but probably not this flexible of 5 days a week working from home. That's, not ideal.
Suddenly there's no escaping for Zumba, is there? Which is absolutely the worst thing in the world, is that you can't escape your own house.
Yes.
Or the people in it.
Exactly, yeah.
So let's look at starting. I've got a little bit of an introduction just so we can say hello to everybody. Thank you for everyone for joining. Running for Medals says hello, saw Dawn at the conference, inspiration. So it's really nice when when people have come along to hear you speak, Dawn, because you are wonderful. And Jazz says hello.
Hi, Jazz.
Hi, Jazz. How are you doing? Okay, so I'm Helen Williams, park runner, A6014, and event director of Harrogate's Junior Park Run here in the UK, and alongside Vassos Alexander, co-presenter of the free Weekly Timed podcast.
Before we start, I'd just like to recommend that after this conversation, people check out the many parkrun social media channels in the UK and across the world, as well as subscribing to the various parkrun podcasts out there. You'll find me on the Free Weekly Time podcast, which you've been on, Dawn. But there's also, with me now, Parkrun Adventurers and the 9:30 Club, to name a few others. So like I said earlier, one final thing before we get going, please do post comments as we go along below with questions, and Parkrun HQ will pull them out and we'll pick a few and answer them. Well, I won't, Dawn will. So before, without any further ado, let's get going. So welcome, Dawn, the brilliant Dawn Nisbet. In 2016, Dawn was, in her own words, very overweight, completely inactive, and at the point where any exercise was difficult and not fun at all. Then a family member's cancer diagnosis inspired her to get active and find parkrun. In only her 6th event, a photo of her finishing at Oldham Parkrun went viral, leading her to inspire thousands of other people to get active. Over the last few years, she's been a guest speaker at the Parkrun Conference, volunteered as a fit model for the Contra clothing brand, and walked, jogged, run, or volunteered 148 times. Right now, she's working hard in the NHS, homeschooling her kids, and trying to find some time for herself. So, Dawn, how are you?
Good, yeah, a bit peculiar in these unusual times, but nice to see everybody.
It's nice to kind of be connected to parkrun. I've really enjoyed seeing everybody come together in these and watch them. And I've also, you know, it's been great to hear other people's parkrun connections as well. So it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
We would love, for people who don't know your story, we would love you to give us a summary of what that is, what your parkrun story is.
So, like you said, I was overweight and completely inactive, had really low self-esteem, low self-opinion of myself, really, and my stepmom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Now she was a fit, young, vibrant person and just so healthy. It was a total shock to us all. I decided I was going to do the Race for Life to show my support for her, and I thought that by doing something like that I knew would be really, really tough, it would go some way to show how much I supported her. She lived a long way away from me, so I couldn't be with her for the appointments. Anyway, cut a long story short, in the cover of darkness, I used to go out in the evening and just started running from one lamppost to the next. There was lots of crying. Anyone who knows me know I cry a lot, and but at no point did I ever think that I would give up, because that I was determined to do that. I did the Race for Life. It was the pretty muddy one, so yeah, there was mud everywhere, and I mean everywhere. I didn't want to, after that, return back to where my life had been before, because I'd actually along the way realised I actually quite enjoyed that sense of achievement. And a lady at work, Jill, recommended parkrun to me, and I thought, well, that's running, and I'm not a runner. So I remember emailing Oldham Parkrun and saying, I've just done Race for Life. I'm still slow. I can't run the whole thing. I'm assuming I'm not welcome. I think I wanted them to tell me, go away. And they didn't. I mean, Oldham Parkrun are like family. They were waiting there, and I did my first one. There was crying again at the end. Not quite the happy smiley picture that was on my 6th, but I did it, and I was hooked. I think I met people who were elite runners, fast runners, had all the kit. As you can see from my picture, I had absolutely no gear, no idea, but they were so welcoming and so friendly. And then that picture was sent to me, and I was always conscious that the marshals there stayed out 10 minutes longer. That's how slow I was, and still am. They were staying out that bit longer to make sure I finished and I felt welcome. So being a technophobe, which you know, because it's taken us a while to sort out me on Instagram.
Hey, not that long, you were brilliant.
I posted that picture on Oldham Parkrun's Facebook site to say, for those who stay out in the cold, because it's Oldham and it's cold, thank you. You can see by the picture what it means to me, and left it at that. The next morning, my friend from Dorset texted me and said, great picture. And I thought, what's she doing on Oldham Parkrun's Facebook site? Anyway, it turned out that Parkrun UK had made that their profile picture for Facebook, and I think I spent there's a common theme here. Most of the day in tears, because without fail, thousands of messages were people who saw strong, happy, fun in that picture. And there was just nothing but support. And from there, I wrote the story behind the picture for Parkrun. And that seemed to speak to people, and then it went in the papers and the TV and went round the world. And I think Nick Pearson has a slide that shows that the week that that picture went viral, 200,000 people signed up to Parkrun.
Wow.
So it was a picture that spoke volumes to people that you can see in that picture. You can see me now. I'm not a small person. I'm not young. I don't look like one of the elite athletes, but that picture spoke to so many people, and more and more people found Parkrun because they saw somebody having just fun, which is what Parkrun means to me now.
Absolutely. And I mean, for anybody, I'm sure Parkrun will have tweeted that picture today as part of this. But if anybody hasn't seen it, you know, go and have a look at the Parkrun feed, because it gives me goosebumps when I look at it, because it absolutely sums up what Parkrun is. It doesn't, you know, the fun and the smile and the freedom that it looks like you've got in it is absolutely fantastic. And so sticking with that, you know, you've run at 10 different events. So we've had a look at, you know, your kind of running history with Parkrun. You volunteered at 4. That includes Alexandra Juniors. And we were talking earlier, you know, that you haven't been one of these runners who has done Parkrun at Oldham once and then done it every single week after that. You know, you've got a busy life, you've got kids, you've got a husband, obviously, and a job, and you've got all the things, and it's just something that you make work for your life and your routine. And so how important has that flexibility been, you know, in keeping you involved in terms of you being able to dip in and dip out? Do you think that flexibility has been really important to keep you in touch without the pressure?
Oh, absolutely. I think knowing that it's always there, which I guess is what's difficult for me and a lot of people at the moment, is it's not there. But it was seeing my friends at running events that I'd met through Parkrun. Some of the events that the other Parkruns have actually done, I've done with people I've met through Parkrun. So we did a girls' trip to Bushy Park, obviously, you know, the mecca of Parkrun, and it was all women that I'd met at Parkrun. So that made it all the more important, and the flexibility. Like I say, my daughter loves Alexandra Juniors, although I am a terrible mother, because at one point I told her that it didn't happen when it rained. So she was under the impression that Junior Parkrun only happened when it was sunny. And I remember being interviewed for something or other, and she was with me, and somebody said, "Oh, you know, Nina, that's her name." They said, "Do you like Junior Parkrun?" She says, "Yes, but I do wish it would happen if it didn't when it rained." And I thought, oh, I feel like a terrible mum. But yeah, knowing that it's always there and that the people are always there is just lovely. And you could, like you say, dip in and dip out. And I've been to lots of other Parkruns, and people are that's just the common theme: the friendliness, the welcoming, and that pace and speed don't matter. It's just that you're out there doing it.
And so obviously you've not found that a difficult thing to get to grips with either, which is really nice. So, you know, you haven't gone and thought, I need to get faster, or I need to come every week, and so you've been able to enjoy the atmosphere and take what you've needed out of it, and then come back when it fits in with you and when it hasn't rained.
I think the fact that I don't focus on being faster is probably because I can't. I have tried. And I remember there was one week I'd absolutely busted my guts. And anyone that's ever been to Oldham Parkrun, it's very hilly. And I hadn't enjoyed it. And then I got the text, and I think I got a 2 or 3 second buzz that I was the fastest I'd ever been. And then it stopped, and I thought, would I rather have, you know, this is saying how slow I am, either, you know, 42 or 50 minutes of fun for not being faster, or would I like a 3 second buzz? So that's, I've done a few other longer runs, and that's how I've always tried to approach them. And people will ask me, what was your time? And I either tell them I don't know, or I'm not going to tell you, because to me it doesn't matter to me, so why does it matter to you? To me, it's like I say, it's the fun and the atmosphere, and Saturday mornings out with your friends. I
think that, for me, when we were chatting earlier, I think that's what makes everything about that picture wonderful, and everything about your journey and your story has been so lovely, because actually you've placed no importance on the time, because the time is something that doesn't make you a good or a bad person. It's just an arbitrary number at the end, isn't it? And it's something that you can work towards if that's something you want to do. But for you, it means you've also been able to separate that and actually do something that you really enjoy, as opposed to, like you say, do something that might be a bit faster, but then you don't enjoy it, and then you might not come back, which is wonderful.
I think what I've talked to other people about is try and find your fun. If you so I'd been to the gym and done things and absolutely hated it, and there's that first bit in a January, for example, where you think, right, that's it, I'm going to change my life, and you throw your everything at it, and in 3 weeks you're done. So I always say to my friends, or anyone that I'm talking to, obviously, because you talk to everyone about parkrun once you know about parkrun, is find your fun. If you're not having fun, you're not going to carry on doing it. Everyone has so many different hats and so many different roles in life. If you only have, say, 60 minutes a day that are yours, don't spend them doing something you hate. Spend it with people you love, and spend it doing things you love. So find your fun, and mine is at the back of the pack, often with the tail walker, having fun.
Brilliant. And so tell us about Contra, because obviously, as I said in the introduction, you've been a fit model for Contra. To give us a little bit of what your kind of journey for that was like, and what that's been like.
I remember when I was first starting out to train for the Race for Life, that had a couple of negative experiences in running shops, where one guy couldn't believe that I ran, and I'd gone for compression socks because I was having trouble with my calves, and a runner had obviously suggested, and that it was a bit like that Pretty Woman moment where we don't have anything for you here. He says, you could have men's, but I only have a size 5 foot, so I'm not going to wear men's socks that are size 7 and curl the ends over. So to me, it was to be asked to support Contra, which it's not done in sizing of labelling somebody that you are XXXXL or you're small or you're medium. And I think, is it Nike that's extra large is in women is a size 14. It's that shopping experience, being told that I'm XXXL. Yeah, great. I feel amazing now. Thank you very much. But to be asked to do that, and that I could then wear and other people could wear the same as somebody else, and they're not having to wear a different range, or they're excluded from something, where Contra supports parkrun. So I was so flattered to be asked, and it was all a bit in secrecy. And I remember thinking, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be really, really honest, and went down to London for the fitting, and told them everything of my experience as a bigger runner. So, I'm sure not everybody will know what chub rub is, or, things riding up that shouldn't ride up. And it was to make sure, if I was in this, I wanted my voice to be heard. And the team were amazing. They listened the whole way. And I was just so proud to be part of it.
And it's fantastic gear, and I think it's really important, isn't it? And I think one of the things that you've said there that is really important is that you can feel like you're wearing things that other runners are wearing, and you're not just, like you were saying, in something that you can only wear because it's comfortable. So it's so important that, you feel like you're wearing runner's kit that is really comfortable, which is wonderful. And it's great. And all of the Contra stuff has got completely different labelling, hasn't it? So that you can look on your size and work out what it is, as opposed to the generic, this one, this one, this one, and this one, which is really tricky. Talk to me about lockdown life. What's that like for you and your family?
Well, I work for the NHS, but I'm working from home doing a project that supports Frontline. So I've been working long hours, long days. My husband also works from home. I have an 11-year-old who is autistic, so that comes with challenges. I have an 18-year-old who, at 18, your life is totally focused around socialising, your friends, going out, getting dressed up. So, Yes, my daughter's either fully dressed up to the nines or in sweatpants or pyjamas. And we hear TikTok running upstairs all the time while she's doing various dances. She's asked me, and I've strongly declined to be involved in that. It's tough because added to that, you've then, like I say, my daughter's autistic. We've always been really clear that home is the safe space. So the homeschooling, we were expecting to be more of a challenge, but my daughter goes to a school that is just for children with autism, and that school have been phenomenal. But what we've done is, rather than saying we're homeschooling and at 9 o'clock you start and at 4 o'clock you finish, we fit that in around the day, and she does what's fun. So they've been great with some of the lessons that they're, I don't think she even knows she's homeschooling, if I'm honest. I think, what are we, 5 weeks into this, and she's done 11 weeks worth of work. So what we've said is, as long as it's fun and she's fitting that around everything else. I mean, obviously she's eating 56 snacks a day every 10 minutes. Can I have a snack? Can I have a snack? But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. It's my 20th wedding anniversary tomorrow, and we should have been in a cottage in the woods, going to a spa. Yeah, none of that. So lockdown's interesting.
And we were when we had a chat earlier, and we were saying, one of the really important things about speaking to our kind of parkrun community is that we're all in the same boat, and obviously everybody's circumstances are different. But as moms and as women, we're finding that where we called them hats, didn't we? That we're wearing these millions of hats. We start a hat in the morning as a mom, and then you put your hat on and you start work, and then you try and juggle a bit of that with lunch and some school work, and then obviously you've got to work out how that fits in with your 11-year-old, and then how on earth you entertain an 18-year-old who, like you say, doesn't want to be at home. Your 18-year-old doesn't really want to be sat with your parents, So it's wonderful to hear just, everybody has these challenges, but we'll all muddle on together in our wonderful kind of ways to fix it all. So going back to a kind of activity theme, have you managed to keep active, and has that been a priority, or like what does your exercise look like? Does it have a slot in your very, very busy work and life?
So last year I'd had to take a bit of a break from exercise. There was some stuff I needed to focus on, particularly with me, and I had a few health issues, so I made a conscious decision to stop. But going into lockdown, I was very aware, I'm big, and there was a very strong possibility that I would get bigger on lockdown. And I also, being in the house with the children all the time, there was no space and there was no calm. And I remember, actually, I read back some of my blogs from the beginning that I wrote, and I used to get that from running. That was what I loved when I first started out. So I started the Couch to 5K a few weeks ago. I go out at 6:45 in the morning, when it's not too warm and when it's very quiet. It's not dark anymore. I don't feel the need that I have to go and do that in the dark so people can't see me. I don't really care anymore.
Brilliant.
And I've just really enjoyed getting out there and feeling strong again. So yeah, 3 times a week I do that. I used to horse ride, but obviously that's out of the window, and I miss that desperately. So it was trying to carve some calm out at the beginning of the day to go out. And I mean, it's obviously chucking down now, but the last few weeks have been so glorious. Where I live, the streets are lined with cherry blossom, and that was just beautiful to be able to do that. So yeah, that was the right time for me to start again, and I knew that was the right time.
So you kind of felt that all bubble up and felt like, the thing that was going to take you to a calmer place was going to be to get back running. Would you normally have run at 7:15 in the morning, or is that something you have to do to kind of fit it into the day so you'll do it?
Do it earlier, because normally I'd be driving into city centre Manchester for doing the school drop-off beforehand. So when I first started out, I was going out at 6 in the morning. So I get a bit of a lion now.
Brilliant. Well, it's great to hear that, because I think we've talked quite a lot with the guests that we've had, and chatting to, just friends. Motivation's really difficult, isn't it, right now? Because it's hard to stay active in a busy world anyway, and to kind of carve that time out. And I think, if anything, now we do recognise the need for it. But also, we were talking earlier about the kind of pressures that you get that come with social media, and that comes from whether it's just parenting, isn't it? We were saying earlier that it's really hard when you see families who are baking cakes and doing crafty things and just being these most amazing parents, and that all piles on that pressure and the need to escape it. And at the same time, you can have the same thing with exercise, can't you, where you feel like everybody's doing everything and you're going to get left behind. So it's important, isn't it, to be able to separate that and listen to your own, what you need and what your head needs to be able to get out, and then to find that place like now, which is great to hear that you're still running again, so that, you know, come the day when, you know, we can all leave the house and not have to worry about anything, that'll be lovely to be, you know, to not feel like you've missed out on anything.
Yeah, I think it's always to remember that your journey is your own. It's nobody else's to compare to. And I think the difficulty is as well, people are saying we're all in this together, and we've all got challenges. Everybody's challenges look very different, and everybody's way of dealing with them are very different. We've got amazing bakers that, you know, bake cupcakes and put us all to shame, but it's finding your own way for yourself and your own family and not feeling that pressure, because this situation is unprecedented, and it's finding your own way with your own children and your own family, whatever that looks like, and doing your own journey.
It's a bit like what you said earlier, isn't it, really? It's the fact that you don't care about the time because you don't do it for that. And it's a bit like that. We need to not care about what other people do, because you need to do what's right for you, which is just the best advice at the minute, I think, which is and really important. So this is a pertinent question in terms of now. So your parkrun journey started in 2016.
Yep.
If lockdown had happened in 2017 and not 2020, would you have come back to parkrun?
I think I would have really struggled without parkrun at that point, because at that point in my journey, I was going every single week. And if I wasn't going to Oldham, it was because I was going to a different one, or I was doing a bigger run on the Sunday. And I had hung so much on parkrun. Now I know that parkrun is there after this, when we come out of this, and that I've met the friends, and, you know, I can see a couple of them on here. That now I'm much more secure in myself, and I know that I can keep this going, a bit like I knew I could step away for a bit, and now's the time to go back. That I have the faith in myself now that if I stop, that's fine, I can start again. How I'd have managed without parkrun at that point, from sort of a mental health perspective, and thinking it was parkrun keeping me going, when actually it was me and my strength, which I've discovered over the last few years. I didn't think it was me that was strong, but actually I've realised, I am pretty strong.
You are. I've got goosebumps listening to you, because actually, you know, what you're saying is parkrun's been the facilitator, isn't it? And so it's just allowed you to find yourself. You know, it's given you a platform to discover your own strengths, which is really important. And I think that's what parkrun are really trying to do, you know, in speaking to you and in all of the social media things that they're pushing out, to try and keep that parkrun family connected, so that people know we're all in it together. We will be back. And it's really important, isn't it, to kind of keep that positivity and know that, you know, there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. We just don't know where it is. Absolutely. Or when.
Yeah.
So in that sense, have you got any advice for people whose parkrun journey might have only just started? Because, you know, that going back to what you just said, you know, without parkrun, you might not have carried on. But now that you've discovered that, have you got advice for anybody who is listening now, who might have only just started their journey before lockdown happened and might be in that place?
I think it is, treat your journey as your own, and don't feel pressured that just because everybody else's kids in your kids' class is doing Joe Wicks at 9 o'clock in the morning. If you're not doing Joe Wicks and you're in your pyjamas, that's fine. Do what's fun. If it is finding Zumba on YouTube, or Pilates, or it's skipping, or going on the trampoline, everybody's fun will look different, because this environment and this situation we're in looks different. But don't go on social media and think, oh, I must do Joe Wicks, or I must bake a banana bread and be perfect. Look for your fun. And actually, there's loads of different things around. I mean, social media is negative in some ways, but it's positive in other ways, that there are all sorts of people doing all sorts of things. We've got people running around the garden, skip-a-thons, all sorts. And even actually some of the ridiculous dances that my daughter does on TikTok, they're dancing. So actually, you know, if you love music, just look for a different fun. It might not be parkrun, but just keeping yourself active where you can. But if you can't, that's okay as well. Because I think that, beating yourself up when you're not achieving something and that you can't find your fun, there will be a point where we're back out of this, whatever it looks like, whether we're running, park running, masks, who knows.
And like you say, that makes it worse, doesn't it? If you beat yourself up about it because you can't do it, that makes that hole bigger, doesn't it? Instead of making you look outwards, you look inwards and you feel bad about it. So, in terms of if that had been you just started your journey and you just discovered you liked it, but you were nervous, or would you have reached out to anybody? Would you have, or would you just be kind of doing your own thing? Just kind of, would you be doing that? Would you be looking for your fun in some other way, like you're saying? Would you be looking to dance or do trampolining in the garden?
After 2 kids, probably not trampoline in the garden.
I'm with you there.
Some people can't do that. I think probably for me, I would have enjoyed it because it'd be inside where nobody could see me. And that was a big thing to start with. I remember when I went to the first park run where they said, "You're welcome." I remember hiding. It's called the Lion's Den at Oldham. It's stunning, our park, as I know most people's parks are. And it's a bit of a folly. So I went and hid behind the Lion's Den and kept looking out from behind. So actually exercising inside would have been my dream.
Although saying that, I went out the other day really early in the morning, and I saw somebody I didn't recognise, and she waved from across the road. I thought, she did it in a really, really familiar way, and we must have done a reverse loop because we bumped back into her, and it was one of Aston's friends from his classroom's granny, and she said, "Oh, I thought now's the time to get fit." And I think she's used the fact that, like you were saying, you used to run in the dark, or you used to run really early in the morning, or at some point I do feel like it gave her this cloak of invisibility, so she could just go out and run really early in the morning. No cars, barely any other people about. Runners really don't care what you look like because we're all just runners. We're all or walkers, And I do feel like that's something that you could think about, isn't it? If you're going to go out and run, now's a great time, actually, isn't it? To just listen, enjoy the silence.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got lots of questions because you are wonderful. Okay. Joanne has asked, what's your advice to anyone else who doesn't feel like a runner but would like to give it a go?
I've used the Couch to 5K app a few times, and that's always worked to get me going. I'll make a confession. It's an NHS app, I know, and I work for the NHS. I have never finished Couch to 5K because I get to a point where I like the pace I'm at. I think knowing that I've got a walk break coming up always keeps me going. So, I've never graduated Couch to 5K, and I probably won't graduate this time. But I get to a point where I'm having fun, and bit by bit, that's what I love about the app, is it makes you feel stronger. And each week, for the first few weeks, anyone that's done it, there's a couple of weeks where you just think, what? No, there must be a fault on the app, but just gradually feeling that bit stronger. And if you do the same route, you can see yourself going that bit further. And I think there's nothing better than an absolutely rocking running soundtrack. Getting the right music that will keep you feel motivated. Sometimes, like I say, Oldham is incredibly hilly, and there's a few hills I've got to the bottom of, and I just think, no, I'm going to give up. And then I think Spotify must be wired into me that I think the best one was Fat Bottom Girls by Queen, and I just thought, right, up you go, get going.
Brilliant.
So, definitely a running soundtrack.
That's absolutely brilliant advice, that is. Sam Hughes says, when you shared that picture, did you ever imagine what would happen?
No, and I think at the point I shared the picture, I was embarrassed by it. When I saw that picture, all I could see was fat and wobble, and just out of sight of the picture is a bum bag, which, as I say, my children think I am the most embarrassing person ever, which obviously I am, 40-year-old running around with a bum bag. That day that all those comments came in, nobody saw that, nobody focused on that, and I think in sort of the tweets I've done, or I've done a couple of interviews on TV and things like that, I think I've had 9 trolls, which is amazing. One of them I actually contacted and said, I'm really sorry if that's what you take from my picture, and he apologised, which I was amazed at. I just love the people that I've met through this, and I know there's a couple of people that have said, I've started because of you. And
Brilliant.
Even just one or two people making that difference. I never thought in a million years sticking that picture onto Oldham Park Run to say thank you. But it's changed my life. I remember I've said before, I always thought my life I would be happy when I was thin, and I was always waiting and thinking I had low self-esteem because I was fat. But actually what I found is happiness, friends, strength, and I finally feel proud of myself. Thin, as you can see, is still not here, and I don't think it ever will, but it is about friends and feeling happy and finding my fun.
I've got those goosebumps again.
That picture changed my life. So
yeah, but you changed your life, didn't you? Because I think it shows a few things more than just the fun. I think it shows that you're brave and you're strong and you were in a good place, and you can find that good place when you need it, because it's always there. And it's proof, isn't it, that actually if you're having fun and you can be happy, then you don't need to worry about anything else in terms of, you know, that moment. You can just get out there. It's brilliant. It is the best. Vicky Young says, my absolute favourite photo of a runner. Mine too, definitely.
Thank you.
Donna says, love it that you didn't go to park run in all the gear. Do you think it matters what people wear to park run?
No. I remember hiding around the back of the lion's den and seeing loads of people who, in my head, were thin and wearing all the gear. That picture of me crossing my 6th park run, I had Primark leggings on, 15 quid trainers from JD Sports, and that T-shirt is from Evans, the larger lady shop. I was going to say fat shop, which, you know. I think it helps to have something that's comfortable. I think that's what is really helpful in the contra stuff I wear all the time, because it is light and it's comfortable. And being bigger, I do get really hot and sweaty and resemble a bit of a beetroot. So having something that keeps me a bit cooler makes it more comfortable. I mean, for 5K, not too much of a bother, but I've done 10Ks, and definitely the more comfortable you are, the much more fun you'll have as well.
Yeah, I think you need to feel, you just need to feel, like you say, the comfort's really important, isn't it? So it doesn't matter what you wear as long as you feel comfortable.
And then not always having to pull something down or something, you know, because you're self-conscious that bits of you that you don't want to show are showing. So yeah, definitely about comfort.
Oh, somebody's posting it now. Somebody's saying, where's the picture? But if you look on any of the park run Twitter or Instagram, you'll see it from today, because obviously they've been tweeting about this tonight. Luke 2K says, I love my contra gear and proud to support parkrun. What was it like being a fit model for the brand? So kind of go over the same thing again, you know, like being you're a model and you're giving them really, really important feedback. Was it fun?
Well, I remember when I first went to get measured, it was guys measuring me, which was a bit unusual. A funny story was, I remember going for the final fitting when we had the final product, and it was one of the hottest days of the year in July. So I went down to London and they gave me the leggings and said, can you go and try those on? So I went into, it wasn't a change room, it was their bathroom. So absolutely sweltering. And I got them up to about my knees and they weren't going anywhere. So I popped back out, and luckily by this point there was a lady measuring me. And I said, can I just check, are they meant to be tight, because I don't want to rip them if they're your only sample? She says, oh, sorry, I should have said the compression leggings. So then I went back in the bathroom and I was laying on the floor getting these compression leggings on. Anyone, you know, if you can imagine being really warm before a run. So I came out and was really pleased that I got them on, and she goes, oh no, they're far too big, go in and put a smaller size. So I had to get them off and then get a smaller size on. But I have to say, I came out and there was a floor-to-ceiling mirror, and my butt has never looked so good as it did in these leggings. I did have to take them off and hand them back and apologise. But, yeah, I was just open and honest the whole way. You know, as a bigger lady, you know, things rub, things chafe, and I've had kids. So I was honest all the way through, and Tim from Saw running a couple of times, I think he thought, oh my word, this is honesty. But I thought, if I'm here to represent people my size, and this clothing will be worn by people of my size, like I said a few minutes ago, it's got to be comfortable, and you can't be pulling it down because it's a couple of inches too short or you're self-conscious. Actually, yeah, I was brutally honest.
Good. You know, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and you need that honesty. Brendan Ellis says, do you have any advice for a teenager training for a half marathon? Would love to hear your top running tips.
Oh, well, I did a half marathon, and that was my first and last half marathon. I struggled, and I'll be really honest, with the amount of training, and I think that it was difficult for me because the amount of time I needed to be out, that took me away from my family. I think that's also why I wouldn't be doing another one, besides the fact that, yeah, it was one of the hottest days of the year in Manchester. I think a really good training plan, and if you can, find other people either virtually that you can share your journey with, because I remember people at work at first, they're like, oh yeah, that sounds wonderful. By about the third, fourth week, they don't want to hear about it anymore. So find yourself a buddy that you can check in, check your progress. When you've had a bad run, get in touch with them and say that was rubbish, and they'll help pick you back up, and you'll do the same for them. So a really good plan. And my advice from my experience was, if there's going to be gels on the day, don't touch them unless you've trained with them beforehand. And yeah, hydrate beforehand, and jelly babies or something, or whatever you need in your obviously not a bum bag, because if she's a teenager, she's probably not half as uncool as me. Yeah, just making sure that you've got the training in. I'm a firm believer. Obviously, I work for the NHS. Don't attempt something that you've not done the training for. It's not fair on other people on the day. If you've done the training, absolutely go for it. Don't touch the gels unless you've trained with them. That's never a good move.
And like you say, you know, I think importantly, when you recognise that for you, it just didn't fit in, it took too much time. I think that's a really, really valid point, isn't it? If you've got the time to train for one, then that's great. And if you haven't, that's just an extra added pressure, isn't it? Catriona, she says, have you got a favourite volunteer role, or one you're looking to try when you get back?
I am a bit of a technophobe, I'll be honest. So just a moment, my daughter is winding the dog up when I've asked her not to. Thank you. Yeah, that's that hat. Just put on quickly. Leave the dog alone. I did run director for a little while. We were short of run directors. I'll openly admit I suffer from anxiety. So whilst I loved it, that hour of you know, being in charge of everything, I did it a few times and did my piece, but not for me. I love marshalling. Absolutely love marshalling. It was Oldham Parkrun's 15th birthday a few months ago, and we reversed the route, and then we did fancy dress, and I was dressed up as a unicorn. And I just love it. People are so friendly and cheering people on. Yeah, that would be my top one. Top one. Marshalling. Yeah.
And Running for Medals says, hope if you're not working that you'll be back week 1 after the park run pause. Where will you be?
Oldham, definitely. Oldham it's a tougher one because it's got lots of hills, but I miss the people there. I've missed them incredibly while I had that pause. And Alexandra Park in Oldham in the spring and summer is just stunning. My mum lives in Cornwall, and there's Lanhydrock Park Run that's in a National Trust park. I actually grew up in the big park at Lanhydrock, and I love that one, but I think that's one of the toughest. And then my dad lives in Seaton in Devon, and that one runs, you finish on the beach. So I'll be, hopefully, if I'm going to see my mum and dad over the summer, I'll be doing maybe Lanhydrock. Definitely doing Seaton.
And have you really missed it? You know, everybody's missing park run, because I think a lot of people miss that routine. And are you missing park run? Can you feel that gap?
I think now that I've got back into where I wanted to start again, I'm missing it because, like I said, I always thought it would be there for me. I could take a step away and it'd be there when I was ready. But the people who are my friends, I'm still in touch with them. I see them on Facebook and message them. Yeah, so I miss that, and the fact that it's so beautiful, and we can't get out into the parks really because it is a drive for me to go there.
Right.
I do miss it and the people.
We'll be back soon, won't we?
Definitely.
Dawn, you are absolutely brilliant. There's so many comments, too many even to mention how brilliant. People have absolutely loved you, and I know that the parkrun team will put this up on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and absolutely thanks to everyone who's tuned in. And like I said earlier, do check out our parkrun social media channels in the UK and across the world, as well as subscribing to the various podcasts that are out there. You'll find me on Free Weekly Timed. There's also With Me Now, Parkrun Adventures, and the 9:30 Club. Now more than ever, we really feel this, don't we? It's important that we all come together and support each other. The Parkrun family is there for us all, and we will get through this together. Thank you so much, Dawn. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me. I just feel really honoured to have the opportunity to talk about my story, really. But thank you for asking.
You're amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in the parkrun world.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Take care.
Dawn. Bye.